Have you ever felt like you were drowning in life's struggles with no foothold to stand on? Like the waters are rising and you're sinking deeper with every step? If so, you're not alone. In Psalm 69, David cries out from a place of overwhelming anguish, and yet, within his prayer, we discover a path to hope, trust, and salvation. By the end of this video, we'll see how David's raw plea to God can speak to your life today, no matter what you're facing. Let's dive into Psalm 69, a psalm of both deep sorrow and profound faith. David begins with words that many of us can relate to during our darkest moments. "Save me, O God, for the waters have come up to my neck." Picture the weight of that image, the feeling of being submerged, barely able to keep your head above water. He describes himself sinking into deep waters with no solid ground to stand on. This vivid imagery of drowning reflects not just physical danger, but the emotional and spiritual depths of despair he's experiencing. David wasn't just facing personal challenges. He had enemies seeking to destroy him, mocking him for his faith in God. "Those who hate me without reason outnumber the hairs of my head." He felt abandoned, even by his own family. "I am a foreigner to my own family, a stranger to my mother's children." David's situation seems unbearable, and yet, in this psalm, he models for us the importance of crying out to God, even when we feel utterly forsaken. And what's amazing about David's prayer is how he acknowledges his own failings. He doesn't come to God pretending to be perfect. In verse 5, he admits, "You, God, know my folly. My guilt is not hidden from you." This is a critical lesson for us. When we come to God in our pain, we don't need to hide our mistakes or try to appear faultless. God sees everything, and still, He invites us to come to Him, just as we are. Think about your own life for a moment. Have you ever felt like David, surrounded by challenges and feeling guilty or inadequate? Maybe you've tried to carry the weight of your mistakes, but in Psalm 69, David shows us that we don't have to bear that burden alone. He pours out his heart to God, asking for rescue. "Rescue me from the mire, do not let me sink." In doing so, David teaches us that no matter how far we've sunk, there is always hope in God's love and mercy. David continues to plead for God's intervention, even as his enemies mock and ridicule him. "I looked for sympathy, but there was none, for comforters, but I found none." His sorrow is so deep that it feels like there's no one to turn to, but instead of giving up, David turns to the one place where he knows he'll find help: God's presence. And that's where the shift begins. In verse 13, David says, "But I pray to you, Lord, in the time of your favor. In your great love, O God, answer me with your sure salvation." David's confidence is not in his own strength or in the people around him, but in God's unfailing love. Even in his suffering, he holds on to the truth that God is both just and merciful. David knows that the same God who allowed him to walk through this trial is also the God who will deliver him from it. And not just for David's sake, but for the sake of all those who put their trust in the Lord. Verse 35 says, "God will save Zion and rebuild the cities of Judah." This psalm ends with a powerful promise that God is in the business of restoration. As we reflect on Psalm 69, we are reminded that even in our darkest moments, God hears our prayers and will deliver us. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or drowning in life's challenges, don't lose hope. Like David, turn to God in your time of need, trusting in His great love and mercy. If this message has resonated with you and you want to explore more of God's Word together, hit the subscribe button and join our community. We dive deep into the Scriptures, finding hope and encouragement for life's toughest battles. Make sure to click the notification bell so you never miss an update. Keep trusting, keep praying, and remember, God's love is greater than any storm. Stay blessed.